out a song of ice and fire. So grab a lighter and a cold drink. Go, 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 go. Grab a lighter and a cold drink. Go, 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 go. It's go time.
You guys heard it right. It's go time here on PanNerdia. And welcome, Ron here.
Ready to beat?
Welcome to Go Time, our Game of Thrones Season 8 discussion breakdown show. We're real excited for this. We're real excited for this season. It's been a long time coming. For some fans, like me, we've waited 2 years. I think it was something like 595 days between seasons.
Not this guy.
Then there's others who.
But I feel for you, people.
He understands. He's like, I wouldn't have been able to wait that long. I'm like, dude, trust me. That's why all these theories are so crazy nowadays with this show.
A lot of time for everyone to just soup on.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's just, really, really stew on, man. I mean, it's so exciting what they're gonna unveil this season. I mean, with the big battles ahead, like the Battle of Winterfell in episode 3 coming up, and then supposedly something else really big in like episode 5. So really looking forward to not only this action-packed season, but kind of a tightening up of stories and backgrounds and what the future holds for not only the series but the prequels coming up. So the way this is gonna kind of get broken down here on Go Time. You guys like the pun there? Pete helped think of the name. He's pretty much coined it, and I was like, dude, we got to go with that one. It's perfect.
Go time.
Go time. It's perfect, So the way we do this is going to be an open discussion. We also, while we're sitting here, I'll have slides that come up between us so we can look at things like that. And we'll also pop up a map that I can zoom in on. We can talk about locations, where they were in that episode, as we're discussing as well. And the way we'll discuss is pretty much scene for scene as the episode went down. So we're breaking down the episode, but we're discussing it as we move on. And the reason we do an episode before the new episode is it's kind of like your pregame. We discuss what happened in the last episode to get you hyped up for the next. Because a lot of people, they like to rewatch the first episode or the previous episode before the new one each week. So we want to be there to discuss, kind of get your mind flowing and ready to go with that new episode. But like I said, we have some map discussion to go along with our open discussion as well. Some slides. I think we're going to have a good time, needless to say. And I think to start it off, we got an awesome scene for you from the opening episode of Season 8. My favorite scene from the episode because, man, does it sure show the HBO budget.
Oh.
So let's go ahead and pop that on real quick. Down.
Oh, yeah.
I made sure to get a good
I'll tell you what,
chunk.
I don't know about you, but I got a little bit chills because it reminded me of when Daenerys first rode on and got rescued by the oldest dragon, the biggest dragon, seasons ago.
Yeah, back in season 5.
Yeah, and it was that was like
right here,
impactful.
Whoa.
That you can feel it.
You can totally feel it. Oh yeah.
What we could do as a human race, and those graphics are.
And how he did not fall off. She says, he's like, what do I hold on to? She goes, whatever you can. And he grabs pretty much the steering wheel horns and just Rhaegal flies off. And how so interesting, Rhaegal, he rode the dragon named after his father.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sweet.
He is Aegon III after all.
Yes. So let's go ahead and pop up a slide show behind us. Now this Streamlabs OBS doesn't allow me to hotkey the slideshow, so it's just going to kind of go behind us. Yeah, we are freezing for a second. I apologize. We'll be right there. We go, right back. I got a lot going on here on my computer, but that's just going to slide while we talk. Again, it's open discussion. We're just going to kind of break down scene for scene in the episode. Stop every once in a while and pull up the map and whatnot.
I'll tell you what. So they changed this part up quite a bit at the beginning.
Yeah, the new opening sequence.
Who cares about Robert's rebellion anymore? That's so in the past,
right.
And all the other things. So pretty interesting. I wonder if there's any clues in there. I haven't really read into it yet.
Yeah, well, the 3 bands that they show going across the screen. Here, I'll restart the slide so people can see real quick. We're gonna freeze again real quick, guys. Apologize, but the 3 bands that go across the screen, yeah, they also show things that happened in the show. There was the Robert's Rebellion, or not Robert's Rebellion. Oh yeah, Robert's Rebellion. There was the Red Wedding as well, and I forget what else they showed. I think Daenerys giving birth to her dragons, or having her 3 dragons.
I think that's what that might be. That one.
Yeah, that one there, right? So, pretty significant. Then they showed like not only new updated, cool tile map.
Oh,
It
yeah.
showed
And the ice
the Night
creeping
Kings, creeping in, the tile switching over,
in.
going through the Last
cool.
Hearth, which we'll talk about here in our map here in a little bit, and then going to Winterfell.
I think the bowels of Winterfell are the key to survival at some point coming up, episode 3 or beyond.
If you guys haven't caught on yet, between the promotional material they had, videos and scenes they keep showing with the crypt, the crypts are going to be very, very
I
important.
mean, even that
in these
opening, they
upcoming
take you
seasons.
in with the graphics
Yep.
into the crypt.
Into the crypt. And, as we go discuss in this episode, John finds out important news in the crypt, and it's just, there's a lot to discuss here. So we'll go ahead and start with the opening scene, which of course is
the arrival of Dany and Jon, or should I say Aegon the Third.
in Winterfell. And
that's
how
right.
appropriate.
And there you have them right there.
Yeah, there they are. And how appropriate, because this episode is titled Winterfell. So they all arrive, and of course, which you've also probably noticed, the dichotomy or the mirroring of the first pilot episode of the show, where Robert and Cersei are riding in with all the other King's Guard, and then like the Hound and whatnot.
Yes.
This mirrors it very much so. Arya even sees a little boy that reminds her of her and Bran.
There's a few mirroring things that happen throughout the episode. That's definitely the first.
Yeah, and I don't think it's necessarily anything to really dig into in terms of hidden meanings. It's just kind of saying, hey, look where we've came.
I'll tell you though, when Arya saw her boy there, Gendry, that little look on her face was like, more to come. Like you could tell, like they were she was so happy to see him alive, and so starstruck by her brother Jon as well.
Yeah, she couldn't even really muster out a word, and then of course she sees the Hound, and she's like, "Damn, he's alive! Like he broke both his legs."
And then she probably started getting pissed. Then she saw Gendry. She goes, "Oh, Gendry!"
Oh yeah, right.
So she went through a little roller coaster of emotions, probably.
Yeah, and really good acting by Macy Williams there. Just like she didn't even say a word; she just kind of was in and out, and boom. And then of course, so is Jon and Dany coming in, and of course the Northerners being as hard and cold as they're known to be. We got to remember though, it's not just them not liking foreigners coming in.
Any outsiders, really.
It's also, you got to think about it. Her dad, Aerys II, the Mad King, he also burned Ned Stark's father and Ned Stark's uncle alive with wildfire in King's Landing. So, they have a lot to hate with the Targaryens. Not only that, again, it's foreigners. Jon did what he did, giving his crown away. So they got a lot to be smug over, especially Mormont. Jeez, the look she gave, dude, she was stone cold. But hey, it's all right. Dany used her dragon telepathy and got her dragons coming in to give a little shivers down their spines, and which is sweet. But hey, according to Bran, there's no time after he creeped out Jon. After seeing Jon since the first season, creeped him out, and I'm not fully a man.
It's that quote that he does. It's one of the few things that I wrote down, just because it kind of like emphasizes everything in the episode and what's to come. Is we have no time for this. The Night King has your dragon. He's one of them now. The wall has fallen. The dead march south, and then just pan.
Yeah, it's just like, and then they go to this scene here.
It's a lot to take in for Dany. She's like, and then it just cuts scene.
Oh yeah, we can't forget the how cold. Speaking of cold Northerners, Sansa, the Lady of Winterfell, was being when she was introduced to Dany. Yeah, she's saying Winterfell is yours, my grace. But man, was she given that cold look, baby. And then we move over here into the which we just pass it up, but into
the Grand Council
between the lords of the North and the new queen and whatnot. And not much to discuss besides a key point they show with a key lord of the North, a little lord, as the old Wildling chick would say.
Kid Umber.
Kid Umber, yeah. Ned Umber. At the last hearth. And
hearth.
Well, how appropriate. We can go ahead and I'll stop the slideshow for a second and we'll pop over to our map. I've been waiting for this. Pop over to that and see what's going on here. So, we got a nice map here. Be sure to, in the description, to find out who made this. We're going to go over here to the north. We have Winterfell right here. All right. I'm going to go ahead and mark that real quick. Winterfell. All right. And Last Hearth, it's the last castle before the wall. Now this Queen's Crown, I think that's just like a location perhaps off the King's Road, but it's not a city. The Last Hearth here, from where little Ned Umber's from, which of course there we go. Little Ned Umber's from the Last Hearth there. Sansa's ordered him to travel from Winterfell to there. You can use the King's Road, of course.
Poor kid's like, my lady, my lord,
right.
my queen. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I'm blocking Winterfell here. But Winterfell's down there. Here, let me.
You should probably shrink us down.
There we go. So Winterfell, down there, he's asked to travel back to his castle at Last Hearth.
Grab everyone,
to grab
come
everybody,
back.
all the horses, and come back because we need all these soldiers. The Night King was literally just over in Eastwatch. This is where he blasted down the wall, and he's marching this way. So, and as we see in this episode, he actually makes it to Last Hearth before little Ned Umber. So I wanted to bring that point up. But as they continue in the council, Jon reassures the North that he did what he did for a reason, and he was doing it to save the North. And then Tyrion then reassures that Lannister soldiers are also being sent north as a token from Cersei to help fight against the dead. And well, as we find out, maybe some people think that might be a stupid assumption by Mr. Tyrion.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, that's kind of the next thing there is the dragon glass forging time happens. You know, they finally got all the glass they could possibly get into Winterfell to start forging it. And then also there was a holy tree moment there with Jon. But, you know, like you said, Tyrion and Sansa face off. And he's like, well, I mean, this is, you know, they have a good chat. It was entertaining. But
right.
It ends with her like, I thought you were the most intelligent man in the world.
Yeah, right.
But I guess not, you know, so she just walks off, and he does start to think to himself, did my sister just play me? You know, like,
at that point, that's when
she pregnant? Was she ever pregnant? Did she get pregnant and then lose it? Like, you know, what the scenarios is happening there?
I'm saying right now, I think she was playing Tyrion all from the last season. Like, she was never pregnant. I mean, we'll talk about the Euron scene here later, but she was drinking wine again. So, but it was interesting, you know, little meetup there because they hadn't seen each other since Joffrey's wedding, and well, as Tyrion said, it was such a dreadful event. Sansa says, well, there were some moments, right, which is a funny nod.
Yes.
But speaking of reunions, there was the long awaited one in the Godswood with Jon and Arya. Yeah, it was great, man. I mean, and what little jokes they had for each other as well, with Arya, you know, Jon being like, how you sneak up on me, hinting to her, you know, faceless men thing. Her saying, oh, and talking about how short he is, and then also mentioning
Valerian Steel.
She's
like, are you jealous? And she's like, ha, ha, ha. And little did he know.
They never brought out the cat's paw.
She had Baelish's knife.
The cat's paw. Yeah, and then also the whole thing about Jon getting stabbed. She's like, how did you survive getting stabbed in the heart? He's like,
Have you heard of resurrection? I mean, it's Easter, and I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. But it was cool. They met. They were like, you know, old pals again. And of course, Jon tries to bring up, you know, the Sansa thing, and she's like, you know what? Actually, Sansa's smart as shit, and
she's the smartest woman or person I know. She said, just to remind him, like, hey, we're still family, and like, you know, stop talking shit about her.
And that's second time Jon being dumbfounded. First was Bran, like, geez, and then Arya saying what she said. He's like, Oh God.
Yeah. Arya had a lot more to say. Bran was like almost about being a man.
Oh yeah. Speaking of
That was
Bran
it.
and the Tyrion scene, I have a picture here somewhere where probably coming
Oh,
up where
yeah.
Bran's looking up at Tyrion after the Tyrion Sansa talk.
Yeah, Sansa walks off. Tyrion looks up into the sky like, "Oh shit, is she right?" Then he looks down and
Bran's
that
just
burning stare of Bran, the third eye raven.
Oh man, so that's a little spooky too. But yeah, so after the little reunion there, I believe the next scene coming up is Cersei and King's Landing.
That's right. King's Landing receives the Golden Military Company of Bravos, delivered by Euron Greyjoy's Iron Fleet.
And of course, not before Qyburn warns Cersei that the wall's been breached and the Night King storms to Winterfell with an army of dead. She's like, let them kill each other.
Good.
Yeah, right. And as the crazy one, Cersei looks off into the Golden Company. She's hoping for those elephants.
And she doesn't. She gets 20,000 men and 2,000 horses, but no elephants. And this is probably HBO's budget is so huge, but then it gets to the point where it's like, all right, like
we had to squeeze out something.
It's so easy to squeeze out because you just say, they're not seafaring creatures.
Yeah, right. We can't get them across the ocean. I mean, it's hard enough to get horses. What are you gonna do with elephants?
And
right?
I haven't seen anything close to an aircraft carrier that is used in this world.
So yeah, so no elephants, but hey, Euron is now a prized guest of the crown, and he's looking for something a little more rewardful himself.
Yes.
And maybe he's expecting too much, but hey, we all know how Cersei plays games, and she's still playing them.
I liked how they played that the scene between them, the banter, the fact that he's super cocky, but he doesn't really lie. Well, yeah, they both lie.
Yeah, they do.
But she appreciates that he is interesting, not boring, and that he's willing to, complete whatever needs to be completed.
Right.
But they cut in the middle of the two of them hooking up with Braun.
Oh yes.
With 3 whores, and he gets interrupted by a
Qyburn.
queen's command by Qyburn there, and yeah. What about that little short scene? I mean,
yeah,
take this crossbow and kill them with this.
Yeah, poetic justice.
Poetic justice.
Yeah,
right.
the crossbow that killed Tywin on the pot, and not only does she want Bronn to execute Tyrion, but also Jaime. She says both brothers.
Yeah.
So she's really kind of like, forget this. I'm going in. It's just me all alone, which is kind of crazy. But also, so who knows? They're setting it up. I don't think Bronn will ultimately do it. He might get close, but I think Tyrion and Jaime have other ways of dying and completing their story without Bronn coming in and popping them,
That post-hookup talk between the two of them, though, was very revealing or very confusing, depending on how you look at it, because the whole, like, is she pregnant? Is she not? She's drinking, but now she's not. Now she is again. Like, it makes the fans wonder, was she pregnant to begin with? Has she been playing us all like she was playing her brother? Or did she get pregnant and lose the pregnancy? And now she's drinking wine. So she was, now she isn't. Or something like that. We'll never know. Maybe she did lose it and she'll get pregnant with Euron's child. Or maybe she does still have it and it survives and she just decides to call it Euron's child just to sort of unite a couple of houses and be strategic and everything.
So just to let you guys know, what happened last season when Euron stormed off from King's Landing via. Let me make sure there we go. When he stormed off from King's Landing right here via, acting like he was scared of the dead.
There you go.
Sorry.
It's right there.
Yeah, I'll move it just a little bit. There we go. He stormed off from King's Landing. Acting like he was, scared of the dead. But really what he did was another one of Cersei's games as he traveled all the way through Blackwater Bay up the Narrow Sea to Bravos, where he got the Golden Company from the Bravosian Bank and then proceeded to sail all the way back to King's Landing to get, what he wanted. Also, while he was parked here, and another thing that happened while they were getting the bang on.
What dudes do to get some, huh?
Yeah, to quote, he's gonna fuck the queen.
Yeah. He told his sister in captivity.
And speaking of that, hey, Theon, old Reek there, came to the rescue with his little silent arrows of the night. Yeah.
Oh yeah, a lot of arrows went through eye sockets, multiple, and one of the first ones was that actor from.
Oh yeah, That's Always Sunny.
That's Always Sunny.
Yeah. So over here in Blackwater Bay, Theon saves his sister, and they escape to. I'm guessing they're going north at this point. So they left there, so they're going back up north. And Theon ends up, discussing with her that I want to go. After you're my queen, I'll listen to you.
He didn't even say anything.
Right.
She did all the talking. She goes,
suggested.
"You want to fight for the Starks? You want to fight with the Starks? You want to go to Winterfell and kill some people?" And I loved her plan though.
Mm-hmm.
She's gonna take back her home, which is an island,
Right.
which is a perfect last second retreat. If people from Winterfell have to retreat and get away from the dead because they can't swim.
Yep, they can go to the Iron Island.
So that's perfectly fine. I think that might actually end up happening just for a regrouping before they go and meet up with the dead again or something.
Yeah, I think it'd be good.
I just hope they put a big dent in the dead with all this glass.
And I think, hey, it's setting up something big for Theon. He's survived all these seasons up to the last season, and he's going to Winterfell to fight. Could he die in the big battle?
Yes.
Probably. And it might be a big sacrifice that really helps.
I think it's great that he's going to be shoulder to shoulder with everyone
that he grew up with.
Well, it's kind of sad, but not everyone. A lot of
not
people,
everyone,
yeah,
right?
But yeah, and just let him do what he has to do, and if he sacrifices himself for a mass save, not just like saving one person, that would be pretty epic.
And as he goes to join the fray, the Karstarks.
The Karstarks are back, and
yep, they come back and help join. So the Winterfell's
a lot of moving and shaking, a lot of the final gathering, I guess you could say,
right,
of houses,
which is nice. And there might be some that are still kind of out there, kind of deciding what they want to do. As we're everybody's getting prepared, we have a nice little meeting of the minds.
A little walk and talk that ends up on on one of the watchtowers. But yeah, the meat of the minds include
Davos, Varys, and Tyrion.
Yeah.
The Hand, I guess whatever Varys would be, and Davos, the other hand. Well, previous hand, because he's not necessarily Jon's hand anymore, because Jon's not a king anymore. So I guess you could say
they're all advisors.
Right-hand man, advisors.
There are official names. I know Versi, whatever. He has probably the same title as the guy that sold off Danny in the episode the first season.
Right.
Whatever his title was, I think it was similar to his. Maybe not, because that guy did a lot of safe trading too. All I know is that when you run off with the circus, anything can happen, and that's what happened with Dickless over there. But his one line of "nothing lasts" was interesting.
As they were looking at Danny and Jon, and again, this kind of almost throws into the waters Tyrion's possible betrayal of Danny.
It's confusing
with Varys,
because the way he said how handsome of a couple they are, and this and that, and the whole banter of "I'm not as old as Davos over here," and all these little wisecracks and stuff. Like, well, that's just his personality. It doesn't mean he doesn't have an agenda.
Right.
But I'm really on the fence because
we got to see what happens.
Tyrion's one of my top 3 characters since episode 1, season 1, and I'll tell you what. If he ends up turning just for the greater good of a fake pregnancy of his sister, that would be pretty terrible. But alas, we're going to be at this huge battle a week from tonight.
So maybe he'll prove something there. I think he will definitely survive that, though. We'll put it that way. But as they finish their discussion and it pans over to Jon and Danny in the courtyard, they get alerted by some Dothraki that the dragons only ate 16 sheep.
Yeah, right. It was some ridiculous number, only 16 goats and this many sheep and this many whatever animals. And oh my gosh.
John's like, what's wrong? And she's like, the dragons are barely eating. He's like, that's
that scene of them walking up the hill, and then all of a sudden they're sort of just there, just playing with the bones and stuff like that.
Right.
That was gosh. The actors have to be in a green room, basically with these green cranes and stuff, and act it all out, but
he did a good
God,
job.
it was
and
phenomenal.
Ray Rhaegal was looking at Jon, and then Danny. It's as I watched the scene again and again, it's as she says oh, they're not eating, and then she's like, oh, they don't like the cold. Then she just climbs on it well, I'm gonna go take it for a ride now. So I'm assuming what you're supposed to assume is they're gonna go look for food for it. even though the dragons should be able to find food anyway. But I thought that was a little odd that they'll take it for a joyride after they're like famished and cold, and she's like, let's go ride them.
Yeah, maybe
kind of funny.
It's
but
just well, she does say that this is the only answer we get is that they don't like the North. It's they fucking it sucks. It's cold.
There is history. I forget which Targaryen and which dragon rider it was, but it was a female and back in the history of Westeros, and she tried to take her dragon behind the wall and it didn't want to go. It was
dragon like, put on the brakes like the Roadrunner.
Yeah. Yeah. So it didn't want to go. So but anyway, one of the most epic scenes which we showed you guys, Jon mounts Rhaegal, named after his dad Rhaegar.
That was a choice scene that you decided to put on this first go time.
And then after the epic flight, which we've been waiting so long to see, they land at from what the producers say, or the writers of the show, one of Jon's old hunting spots.
Waterfall area.
Yeah. To take Dany, which again is another mirror scene.
It's a make-out spot. It's like the point
it's like the cool kids spot. And they just make out, but it's a mirror scene to him and Ygritte back, not only in the underwater hot spring cave, but also with them saying they're going to stay there forever.
Leave this cave forever. Right. Well, Dany's only like 1,000 years. That's all you get, buddy.
Right. And
he's like, well, we'd be pretty old.
Pretty old, and she's like, oh.
And then the making out, and then the exhale of the nostrils of the Drogon, just watching them make out.
He's like a big dog.
He's like a dog at the corner of the bed, like, what you doing to my mama?
Yeah, right.
She likes you, though.
I loved it. Yeah, it was awesome. Exactly. It was great. So that was pretty interesting. But, I think the next scene is...
more forging of dragonglass, but this time it shows a variety of weapons.
Right. So, we see the big barrels of dragonglass getting rolled in, and Gendry's like, oh, every last drop counts. And then they're down in the Winterfell Forge, forging away, making little arrowheads and spears and swords. And then, hey, he's here. Oh, and they go grab the giant battle axe off the wall for the Hound, which everybody was wondering what the hell weapon he was going to use. Everybody was thinking maybe he'd end up using Heartsbane, which is Sam's father's sword. That big Valyrian sword. Looks like
someone else is going to be wielding that.
But
perhaps
Jorah
Sam himself.
Jorah, yeah, actually.
Oh, Jorah, okay. So Jorah's family sword is now a Jon, and then he'll just get the Tarly sword.
Right? Tarly will give it to Jorah, the Heartsbane.
That'd be perfect.
Yeah, I saw in the preview him holding it, so you can tell by the hilt.
There you go.
Yeah. So he's for sure getting it, but we were wondering then, well, what the hell is Hound going to get? Because all the Valyrian steel is in the north right now. The Hound doesn't have Valyrian steel. Is there like a Valyrian steel axe? That'd be tight if there was one of those out there. Hey, even
a really lightweight axe that does super
next
damage.
best. He got a obsidian axe or a dragonglass axe.
Nice.
So that's pretty tight.
It's gonna be when this is all said and done, the season is over, and they start like churning out like items like fakes, like replica swords and stuff. I bet you that axe is gonna be a hot seller.
Probably would be. People love it.
Even if it's just plastic and painted,
Right. I mean, they could totally do it. It's pretty sweet. And pardon the language here, but he says to Gendry, I quote the Hound. He goes,
"Are you this or that?"
He goes, thanks for, making this. He goes, but anybody who makes weapons for wildlings or cripples or cocksuckers.
Yeah, which one
are you?
And then interrupted Arya's like, leave him alone.
Right.
He's like, damn.
He's like, what? And then he's like, you left me to die. And she's like, well, I robbed you first, bitch.
and she's like, you're a cold bitch. And then there's silence. He goes, that's how you must have survived.
Yeah, which is the appropriate meeting for those two. Yeah. And then, hey, you get the little love meeting between Arya and Gendry. But after their little flirting, you get something very important that I think will come into play. Even the guy who's in charge of weapon designs for the show quoted saying, this weapon that Arya wants Gendry to make will be a showstopper. We see the little slip of, seems to be like a spear or like a bow, with like a detachable dragon glass dagger on the end of it.
Ooh, sweet.
Yeah, that's what the weapon looked like, remember?
I have to take another look at it, but
I got it
is it something she can shoot like a bow and arrow or a crossbow or something that she can fling?
Bow in terms of like a bow staff with a dagger on the end.
Okay, right.
Remember she used that in the House of Black and White? Yeah, like a big spear.
Yeah.
In the House of Black and White she was using that.
Oh, that's right.
She
got
really
right
good
up.
at
No
using
wonder
it.
she requested that.
Yeah.
She's like the
and then she can attach
Donatello of Winterfell now, or Westeros.
I would take that. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, so gonna be interesting. Like I said, the guy who made the weapons designer for the show, he's like, it's gonna be a showstopper. So
Is he double ending that with two points or just the one
oh, so
point?
she might Darth Maul it. That'd be really badass.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, let's go.
PanNerdia. Love it.
Right. So yeah, they have their moments, and she exits, and then we move on to
The Deepwood Mott House of Glover backs
yes.
out, and Sansa and Jon have that talk.
So not every house makes it, but you know, they have more talk. They seem like they're getting a little bit along, and maybe Sansa's understanding where Jon's coming from for handing the crown. But Sansa, just like Cersei, she's learned from the best. She's learned from Cersei. She's learned from
Peter
Littlefinger.
Baelish. Yeah,
Right. She knows her games too. And hey, what does she call on
She's
Jon?
a seasoned vet now of deception and planning and all those things.
She says to Jon, "Oh, but he, you know, Jon says she's not like her father, and you know,
crazy killing people." And she's like,
Sansa's like,
but she's really beautiful. That's what she is.
and that's what she did to proc Jon right there. That's her game.
Well, she ended up even saying at the very end of the scene, like, "So did you bend the knee because of
that's
this,
what
or
she
because
wanted?
you love her?"
Because she was waiting for
and
Jon's
we never
reaction.
got the fucking answer.
Exactly, they left us a little hanger. But that's what she did that on purpose. So she was waiting for that reaction from Jon. The way Jon smiled
timing
at her,
is everything, and she knows that.
yeah, the way Jon smiled, like, yeah, you're right. It was just like, yeah,
That's
you're right. I love her.
I love it.
Yep, and she's like, gotcha. You did it because you love her.
But
you
so
didn't
what?
do it.
How about for both? What's wrong with that?
Right, and there's a duality to that we'll discuss with Jon's little surprise later. But
Yeah.
as we move on,
Danny and Samwell. Poor Samwell gets the news, huh?
Aye. So yeah, you know, more red strings of fate attached to the people all tangled up. Sam, of course, saved Ser Jorah
It'd be funny if she's like, "It's a small world. Sorry."
It's just,
Oh, what do
it's
you
a
know?
small world.
Because she was like, "You don't mean Tarly so and so, do you?" Like, yeah. Go ahead.
Not Randall Tarly.
Not Randall Tarly.
And he's like, you know him. And she's like, yeah, well, I was going to give him back his shit, but he didn't want to bend a knee, so I torched him. And he's like, and you can see on his face he was sad, but then he stopped.
Shocked more than sad.
Right, then he's like, okay, well, I can go back home. My brother's Lord,
I'm allowed
right?
to go back because my brother's
She's like,
the new
no,
Lord.
Dickon didn't fucking...
She stood with him, so they
blast.
both
They were both blasted, and he's like, I mean, and then
like this stuff right here.
the actor, man, incredible right there. You just see it on his face.
Yeah, he did so well there.
Really, really good
He
job.
went from shock to a little bit of fear to like
Anger,
total
fear.
sad. The anger came when he confronted Jon. Like, do you know what?
Well,
This,
you saw it
what
in his
she did?"
face too. He was like angry in his face, but I think it was just perfect acting to be like, "Don't show you're too angry. This is the queen," kind of thing. Like he had to like restrain his anger because he is like, "That's the queen, but I can't be angry at the queen. She'll fucking kill me too. I can't fucking, you know." And he's like, "John,
It's a big moment.
it is, man." And then Jorah's kind of like, "Oh gosh, man, rough."
Then my favorite scene follows that.
Yes.
If you're done talking about that,
Yeah, I mean,
about Samwell and
Samwell running before he runs into sees Bran waiting for an old friend outside.
Oh yeah, that's right. So basically, the main scene is it's almost the end scene. It's not the end, but Bran tells Sam to tell Jon that he's Aegon the Third.
Right.
That's in a nutshell.
He's like you got to do it.
You got to be the one to
He
tell
goes,
him
you're
and
more
do
of a
it
brother
now.
than I am. He's like, but you got it. So Sam.
And
Sam's
yes,
like,
it's
okay.
a lot for Jon to take in. I mean, it's a lot for the fans to take in too. Even though we already knew that before Jon did.
Yeah.
It was just like it was almost like learning it all over again. Watching.
It was.
him.
I mean, and the moment that made me choke was like when Sam was like, "Your father, I mean Ned Stark."
Right.
He was the most honorable man. He kept his promise to save not only you but the kingdom.
His sister, your mother. and
Yeah,
this and that,
exactly. He promised your sister. He did it because Robert would have killed you. He did it because this was to keep you, for the, later on.
And by
'cause
the
you're gonna
way,
be
you
the
were
king of
born
the
in
realm.
Dorne, and now you're up here. What do you know?
Right, exactly.
No, he that whole scene was probably my favorite scene of the show, just because it was the most meaningful of like the whole entire series.
Right.
And the fact that Sam was the one to tell him was great, but the fact that he was so shocked by it, I just hope that he knows that you're still a Stark.
Yeah.
Or you're actually a Stark. Like,
Yeah, you got Stark blood still.
You are still half Stark and half Targaryen, and you deserve to have the throne over anybody because of that.
Right. Yeah. You're all realms at
And
that
let
point.
Gentry and Arya hook up the
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 Baratheons,
the Baratheons and the
Starks,
Starks, but in the correct way,
right. And
Good,
it's just
better people.
the thing is, just like Sam said, you gave up your crown to save your people for Dany. Would she give up the crown to save the realm for you? So that's gonna be a very interesting dichotomy. And are they gonna bring it up in tonight's episode 2? Well, there's somebody else that's gonna have a little more to say in episode 2. But before we get to that, an amazing horror scene.
Oh yeah, the last hearth, damaged and deserted by the dead. Ed and Beric and the Castle Black Company run into each other, and it's totally deserted. I mean, there really aren't any bodies because the bodies turned to walkers and followed the White Walkers on the march. But they left a little message behind, a la the little horror scene that Aaron's talking about here.
Yeah, which is really great, by the way. I really like. They did a really good job on that.
Let's just say Kid Umber burns well with embers.
So again, the Night King, he came from Eastwatch by the sea, which is a part of the wall that's real weak by the edge of the ocean, and well, he blasted it with the zombified Viserion. Decided to descend south to the last hearth, the last castle before the north.
How were they not the first house to be like, and we're on our way?
Yeah, no shit. Well, it's because
stubborn.
Because the kid
was the leader, and he was just trying to
He's and a lot of their men probably got killed in the Battle of the Bastards. I think that's why he's leading.
Yes, that is why.
Yeah, because his dad or brother or somebody got killed. So
All of them almost.
What was awesome about Last Hearth, we get an answer to the mystery of the end of last season when the Night King was blasting down the wall. What happened to Tormund? What happened to
Ed and
Beric, Sir Beric, and Lord Ed?
Mm-hmm.
What happened to them? We thought they died. Well, they ended up all coming down to Last Hearth as they're trying to travel down the Winterfell. They run into each other, which is great. Funny little scene too, by the way. I've always had blue eyes.
That is great. Wait, his eyes are blue. I've always been blue. And then they kiss. It was a great scene.
Right.
No.
And then Beric's like, fires torch sword.
Yes.
And then they walk into, of course, the mangled corpses and poor little Ned Umber staked to the corpses. And again, in that spiral pattern, we've seen not only
these White Walkers,
corpses,
they're so artsy fartsy, I tell you.
So artsy fartsy. They're like they're like a bandit who leaves like a calling card.
Mm-hmm.
But that symbol, it goes all the way back to the Children of the Forest. The same tree that the Night King was birthed on via Dragonglass.
Twisted tree.
Yeah, there's some stone designs around the weirwood tree that he was made on. So a calling to his creators, more so a FU to them, or something even more. We'll see soon. But
Is there a portal of some sort that we don't know about? Because when you see something like that, that swirling thing, and it kind of is a portal. It's a symbol of a portal, and that portal is the third-eyed raven, and his number one portal is probably the tree that's gone now, north of the wall. But now there's the main tree, which they keep cutting back to over and over.
So, very interesting what's going to happen. I mean, theories are all over the board for what's going to happen with this big battle in episode 3. Stuff involving not only the weirwood trees, but more links to the Night King's past with what Bran knows and what Sam might find from those books from the Citadel, as well as mysterious Melisandre if she returns during the battle, and what her and her flaming soul could mean to the battle.
Does she return by herself? Does she bring an army? Does she just bring a couple of other ladies that are priestesses as well?
There are guards of the Red Priest Temple over in she had Valeria she was going? Not Valeria. Volantis. Yeah, there's more, there's like Red Priest like temple guards that who knows what they can do, but all in all, a lot of that could be connecting into something to beat the Night King. But I'm saying the Night King wins that battle, and we see him travel all the way to King's Landing eventually.
Yeah, that's
after a scattered few from the Battle of Winterfell, scattered heroes try to lick their wounds and see if Cersei's gonna fucking help or
It
not.
kind of makes sense. He's going to go down there and destroy everything King's Landing, while all the survivors from Winterfell are going to be over at the Greyjoys' Iron Islands, like regrouping and healing up. And then finally, the last episode is the big clash, or maybe the second to last episode.
I'm thinking
the
episode
big
5,
clash.
maybe. Who knows? Maybe both.
And then 6 will be either the
Yeah, the
clash
repair.
with the aftermath or just aftermath.
I'm just hoping that during the big battle, the dragons do a lot of damage to the Night King's whites, because the further he goes down, the more dead bodies he's collect. His army just gets larger and larger. That's the difference with it. That's the game changer with the Night King, is his army will just keep getting larger and larger.
My question is, do they have to die by the hand of another walker or a white walker, or can they just die?
They have to be either burnt by fire, dragon glass, or Valyrian steel.
Right.
And that's how they get permanently dead. Or they kill the White Walker who's controlling them.
So let's say the Battle of Winterfell, there's friendly fire. Like someone accidentally gets an arrow in the back of the skull by one of his own guys.
Right.
Does he drop dead then turn?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
We might see that during the battle. Like, our soldiers start turning. Like, as he's losing soldiers, he's also gaining new ones. Who knows? That could be some wacky shit like that, which would totally
what they
be
should
even
do?
worse.
Every soldier should have like a little like pouch of like some explosive on them, so if
Right.
they do turn, like his friend can like just ignite it.
Well, what else? What else does he have between the
That'd be
Last
dangerous.
Hearth and Winterfell? There's the Dreadfort, which was where the Boltons were from. But are there any other Boltons really left there?
No, that's wiped out.
Or Carhold? I mean, will they want to go to Carhold and try to pick anybody up, or are they going straight from Last Hearth to Winterfell? You got to think too. Tormund. It shows in the preview. Tormund and Beric, they end up beating the Night King to Winterfell, because they tell Jon, you only got until like the end of the night, and then he's fucking here. So maybe they don't stop anywhere, or maybe they do, and that's what gives Tormund and them
what's gonna
time.
happen now?
Hey, well, the last scene of episode 1 ends with another eerie Bran stare, as well. The last arrival makes, well, besides like Theon, the last arrival of the episode makes it, and well, it's Sir Jaime Lannister, as he promised and told Cersei to F off with his big golden middle finger. I'm going up north and I'm helping the fight, the cause that matters.
Right.
And while he gets there, looks around.
Locks
Winterfell,
eyes with.
Winterfell looks like it used to, but now it's snow. And then looks over and sees, hey, who's that? Oh shit! Really? He thought Bran was dead. He didn't know Bran was alive.
Brandon Stark, the boy from episode 1, season 1, that he pushed out
Yep.
after he doggy styled his sister. After Jaime doggy styled Cersei.
Not Bran. Bran didn't do that. That would have been a pretty funny twist. But another duality in the episode. But this one I think is the most important duality out of any in the entire episode. The other ones were more callbacks, kind of a reminder of where we've been. This one not only is a reminder of where we've been, because the episode 1 of season 1 ended with Jaime pushing Bran. This one ends, season 8, episode 1 ends with Bran seeing Jaime.
Yeah, another throwback.
But
yeah.
this one's
a little more meaningful.
Pushes it up forward to not only the next episode and Jaime getting almost like tried, but also, what Bran knows. And Bran knows, I think, that Jaime is there for the right reasons. And I don't think Bran wants revenge on Jaime. I think, if anything, Bran knows that Jaime's important.
I think Bran's just the main goal is all he cares about.
Right.
And
so
he's discovering how to unlock more and more as he goes, even though that episode didn't show him unlocking a lot like he was in last season. It's sort of like coming to and learning what he can and cannot see. But I'm just afraid, I'll tell you what, before we end up watching tonight's episode, I'm just kind of afraid but kind of excited that maybe everything we're watching is Bran going to the past, and this stuff already happened, kind of thing.
It could be. I think that's possible in general, but if anything, I hope it's not that this is all just this vision that he's trying to do. I hope it's one iteration of it, but I hope we find out more that, like, for example, the theory that the Mad King talking about burn them all is really Bran trying to talk to the Mad King, saying burn all the dead because you're gonna get White Walkers eventually, and that's what the Mad King ends up saying, almost like a Hodor thing. There's lots of theories about that, but as far as this next episode, I think, like I said, I think Bran's going to end up saving Jaime in that terms. But Jaime's got a lot more to speak up on, particularly to Dany, and, how he killed her father. He is the Kingslayer after all. So let's go ahead and pop open a preview before we throw out any last predictions and get ready for episode 2.
Isn't it crazy, all the underground stuff that we learned about King's Landing and there's probably a lot of underground stuff under Winterfell that we're gonna probably learn
Oh
about.
yeah, those crypts, man, they're gonna be very important.
Probably
Remember, guys, the crypts.
the crypts probably open up a doorway to something even bigger.
Well, there
and
are
better.
past back in like season 2, when Theon's trying to take over Winterfell.
Yeah.
The Maester at the time told him that if he needs to escape. There's tunnels in the crypts that the Lords of Winterfell built to
Empty
escape.
out into the forests and whatnot.
So that's probably where everybody will escape.
Yeah.
Who's the last survivors after the battle? But let's go ahead and check out the preview.
Oh yeah. HBO.
When I was a child,
All right,
my
see,
father
he's on
told me a
trial.
bedtime story
Brand's there
about
though,
a man
so I
who
think
died
Brand will come into play for sure.
about all the things we would do to that man.
Cause like I said, he knows these true intentions. He sees all.
You never should have either.
Can't have
Everyone's
pride in
going silver and black, jet black. Even Jamie all of a sudden changed at Winterfell, put on black stuff.
that. Narya with the bow and arrow. She's like a taskmaster, dude. She's got arrows and daggers and thin swords and.
Grey Worm and his lady probably days are numbered, huh? At
If
least
they don't
Grey
both
Worm.
die, Grey Worm's definitely dying.
For
I'll
sure.
tell you that much. Here's who I think's dying in the 3rd episode. Even though we're just talking about the first, but the big battle. Who's dying for sure? Grey Worm's dying. Jorah probably is gonna die, but maybe not.
Theon?
Theon's probably gonna die. I think Barrack's gonna die. I think Tormund's gonna die as well. So
The
at least
Hound?
those 5. I think the Hound. This is my prediction on the Hound. The Hound is, and this is from me looking at other theories and stuff, but I think the Hound will. You think he's gonna die, and I think Barrack will use his ability that he has in the book that he doesn't use in the show yet. But he can bring one person to life by giving his own life. I'm pretty sure it's called the Kiss of Life.
Oh yes.
And he's gonna bring back the
Out
Hound.
of all people, the Hound, huh? Well,
Well,
maybe
their
the Hound.
story's connected.
Well, the
Remember?
Hound must. If that happens,
The Hound's
then,
killed him before.
yeah. If that happens, then the Hound will have to live to almost the last episode because
He's got to face his brother, bro.
I have a feeling is the only time he's got to. Because are we really gonna look back at when they had that first meeting and they showed the dead
Right.
creature to Cersei and they had a little bit of a small little standoff?
Yeah, that's
it's like,
not all.
It's like, is that it, or is
Yeah.
the Hound gonna come in and swoop in last minute and like chop his brother's head off?
I'm hoping. I think everybody wants it. The Clegane Bowl is what they're calling it. I really hope that happens, and that's pretty much where I think the Hound will live, regardless. But they might do some epic scene where Barrack dies to save him.
The
so.
Clegane Bowl makes me want to drink like two
Clegane
giant
Bowl.
steins of beer, even though I
Yeah.
don't drink beer.
Chickens and beer, every fucking
Yeah.
chicken in here.
That's right. That's great.
So we're totally excited. We're ready for tonight. I hope you guys are as well, and I hope you guys enjoyed Go Time. There's still some things I want to mess around with, to experiment with in terms of background and all that. But I like it. I liked our little theme song. I love how the maps work. The
The
maps,
maps, the graphics, man, everything's tight. The opening with the time lapse painting, Aaron, I applaud you.
Hope you guys like that.
Good
by
stuff,
the way.
man. All your stuff is
I'll,
great.
I'll roll out with the theme song before we leave here. But tonight's episode 2 of season 8, we're ready for it. Any quick predictions before we sign off, Pete?
I don't think so. Not for this episode. I mean, we're gonna just get down to the nitty gritty before the big episode 3.
I think they're just preparing.
So
man.
I think maybe next week here on PanNerdia, we'll have plenty more predictions because we're going to be going into the big battle of episode 3 before, with more information.
Right.
Right.
And I'll make sure to let you guys know exactly for next week. But it may be we might go live on like Saturday night. I haven't discussed this with Pete even yet, but I'll let you guys know how it goes. But we will be here next weekend for the next show to review episode 2 in preparation for episode 3. So you guys have a great evening. Enjoy GOT.
And enjoy the enjoyment.
You know it. Again, we'll roll out here with our little theme song. So hope you guys enjoy it. And you guys have a great night.
Go, 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 go. Let's talk about a song of ice and fire. So grab a lighter and a cold drink. Go, 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 go. Grab a lighter and a cold drink. Go, 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 go. It's go time.